So I'm sure you're wondering, this does not look like the start of any of the other videos. Ark, why are you showing the mission results screen? And why are those numbers different?
Isn't this where we left off?
Yeah. But there's actually a reason for this. It's because I realized, with some of the footage I had, specifically when I was getting the mission recap, I decided this was the best time to show off the screens you get when you get a decoration and a promotion. Because when I did this run in the campaign, I had actually I had gotten both at once. So yeah, the decoration comes when you get over 12,000 combat points. And once you get enough combat points, you'll get like a promotion. And it actually dates it differently based on which mission you complete, because each mission takes place on a different day and month because of how long this campaign goes for.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we saved the hostages, took her back over the capital, and we are trying everything in our power to get the Haishidao to reintegrate proper into the Pacific Rim forces and UN and all that, but unfortunately it's like there's technically now a new government formed as a result of these negotiations, but Gormit Sin is still trying to hold on to his old government and is refusing to stand down.
Okay, Mr. Trump.
Mm-hmm. We now gotta take him out at his own personal fort. Which is, as it turns out, the final of the 3 new mission environments of this game. And how fitting one of those is for the actual last mission. For the last battle that will be fought in Haishidao. At least until line of contact.
At least they, decided to give you some kind of compensation for having to redo half the game.
Yeah, well, more like 75% of it.
I know, I was being generous.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's more like, depending on the route split you go on, it's more like it makes up for replaying 90% of the same game or 75% of the same.
Games were different back then.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're going with the Juggernaut again, chased out our loadout, and doing something that no sane person should think of doing, but it's a good idea anyway.
Waving your dick out the cockpit. I mean, what?
Yes, if you're considering my dick as a second railgun.
I mean, close enough.
It's true that you would, if you saw like the weapon equipped screen that I got. I have technically 2 railguns, which it doesn't actually make it so that there's 2 whole railguns, like one on each shoulder. It's more like it just gives me extra ammo for it. I still have to manually switch between them, but that's basically what solidifies how this game handles specific weapons for each VT, because it's like they're all designed to be equipped to certain hard points. And if it comes to a point where you decide to equip duplicates of the same weapon, it doesn't equip literally 2 guns. It's just another set of, like, ammunition.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. But it gets even more hilarious when we use a certain unlockable later on, like a special bonus, I guess cheat as you call it, which basically lets you use every weapon on a single unit. But we'll get there when we get there.
So, choice of music is appropriately inappropriate.
Yeah, this was, so I guess the way that I was trying to think of this was, because this is the final mission, I was trying to look through, at least like Mecha anime adjacent music and be like, okay, what music do I think would be very fitting for what is supposed to be like the last episode of an anime? And I guess what went through my mind, well, 2 things. One of those was this, where it basically would be like, that moment where, like, the anime opening plays for the last time as part of the last battle.
Yes!
And then the second
Always
half
the
of this,
thing.
as you'll find later on, is I just use the finale music from different Macross series.
Oh man, you mean you don't have any love deterrents on here?
I considered that. I honest to God considered that. I unironically love deterrence. I know it's the sort of thing that feels very controversial, especially to Metal Gear fans, But it's like, I will agree with them on the basis that Love Deterrence does feel so goddamn out of place with Metal Gear. But I love it precisely because if it had aired in Macross Frontier, it would have been the most appropriate thing ever.
Oh yeah.
It fits so well with the kind of high-flying dogfights that happen in that series.
Yeah, it's just that the final boss of Peace Walker kind of just stands there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool when, you know, all the MSF soldiers start helping you out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, that's probably one of my favorite parts of the game.
Yeah.
But the boss isn't really that dynamic.
Not really. You're only really in it for the song.
Yeah. It's like the battlefield changes a bit, but the boss doesn't really do much. It's just a missed opportunity.
Yeah. That said, though, this song isn't actually from an anime. It's the opening theme from Another Century's Episode 3. Yeah. Which, funny enough, also the main theme does play during the final mission, so I think that's extra appropriate. The final mission in which you fight against the Shin Getter Dragon. Because Ace 3 decided to include Getter Robo Armageddon in the lineup. Which I appreciated a lot.
I need to watch that again.
It's okay. It is very much a series where, like, the shift in directors after the third episode really did make a big difference. Because the first 3 episodes were directed by the guy responsible for G Gundam and Giant Robo the animation. And especially based on Giant Robo, it very much felt like a situation where he was genuinely wanting to push it in a very different and interesting direction. But then the nukes drop, and then the rest of the series just turns into a weird bastardized remixing of events from the manga.
Kind of, I remember watching it way back in the day and thinking that it kind of reminded me of something, but I wasn't sure what. And now you've mentioned that he also worked on Giant Robo. That makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like that director has a very keen sense on, like, not only knowing and appreciating what makes super robot shows enjoyable, but also finding very solid ways to, like, wring more depth out of their premise. Because also, like, on top of that, he made what is my absolute favorite super robot show, Shin Mazinger Shogeki Z.
Yeah. I watched a couple of episodes of that and was like, okay, I really need to watch this when I've got more time. And keep forgetting about it. It's like I've got more time, and it's like, no, it's one of those things where it's like, I've got more time, but I don't want to watch this, you know? It's like, I'm in the mood for something, but I don't know what, but it's definitely not that. You know, I just wind up hitting F5 on YouTube for 6 hours. But no, again, what I've seen of that was like, holy shit, this looks like an amazing show.
It absolutely is. It's the sort of thing where, like, I remember watching Gurren Lagann before that because, of course, that was the thing that, like, literally every, like, major anime community and people talked about. But after I saw that, I was like, this fucking wipes the floor with Gurren Lagann. You people don't know what's good.
Now, by and large, I don't listen. Like, I'll listen to other people's recommendations. But when it comes to any kind of big community hive mind saying this is the new big thing, I don't watch it until everyone's stopped talking about it, because I know that it's never going to live up to their expectations.
I feel the same way, especially in regards to certain games, and is why I have still not played Persona 5 in any form. Because I feel like I'm still seeing bits and pieces of that discussion continue to crop up, and it's enough to make me go, I do not want to try and experience this game right now, whether or not to validate the people that love it or validate the people that are heavily critical of it.
See, I've mentioned before, but I'm like a huge Shin Megami Tensei fan, to the point I've got like a tattoo of one of the turn icons on my arm.
Nice.
And I had it pre-ordered the second they made it available. I've got the Take Your Heart edition, which is like the super special edition of the first one. and the Phantom Thief edition of Persona 5 Royal.
Right.
So I'm naturally heavily biased towards it, you know? Like, I didn't care what anyone else said. I was getting that game day of release. So, like I said, take it for what it's worth, but it is a fantastic game. Highly recommend it. Although I would say get hold of the P5 Royal, because it adds in a lot more content that makes the first 2/3 of the game smoother.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. Because, I mean, again, like, when I played Persona 3 for the first time, I went straight for Fez, because no reason to, like...
Yeah, no reason not to.
Yeah, even though I had no intention of playing the answer, because I already knew what the deal was with that, and I was like, this does not sound like a fun time.
Yeah, like, as much of a huge fan as I am, I'm not blind to the series' shortcomings, and the answer is really only for masochists. The story is good, the gameplay is atrocious.
Yeah. This song is also... I forgot to mention, even though we're near the end, this song is also from one of the... an opening from one of the Another Centuries episode games. This is from 2. And specifically is one where, for the longest time, I didn't even know it existed, because there were 2 prints of Ace 2 that came out. One was the original, which had this as the opening theme, but then there was another that came out that was called Special Vocal Edition, where the that thing's gimmick was that they basically made it so that the main series themes in that actually had their vocal versions, because they were able to do that for Another Centuries episode 3. And because of how popular that was, they decided to do another print of 2, but with that as the gimmick. But for some reason, they couldn't get the rights for this opening song again, so it was just kind of a generic BGM track.
I copy.
Because they were doing that for a while with the PS3 series of Super Robot Wars games.
Yeah, definitely.
In-game, the music was instrumental, but they essentially provided a soundtrack code that let you overwrite all the music with the proper versions of it.
Yeah, and considering the extra cost that comes from having to license separate music tracks, like, separate from even the IP that it's associated with, like, that's a decision that makes sense.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where it works out cheaper to pay the 2 separate licenses, one for in-game and one for out-of-game, than get the full versions in-game. It's nuts.
This Scareface is dodging a lot of my shots like a pro.
Yeah, like, is this guy the final boss? Is this
No.
Marauder Shields?
No, there's a lot worse after this.
Rippin' pepperoni, Scareface.
I do like this environment that we go through. It's the sort of thing where, by nature of kind of how the game ends with, like, the final challenge it presents to you, this is also another mission where I have to make more than one supply run, but I think it's very much worth it in this case.
Yeah, but that section there was definitely very Armored Core-y.
Yeah. Like this...
Just missing bright neon lights everywhere.
Yeah, like this even more than the Mission 7/17, like, underground facility environment. This feels, I think, the most like an Armored Core mission, especially a final one. Plus, I do really like how, just the scenario behind how it opens up, where you're storming the front of the fort and have to basically, you know, break away and, like, get to a side entrance, and and then, like, the way you get inside is that you have to destroy one of the VTs and then take advantage of one of the elevators that brings up a reinforcement to take its place. Like, I think that's a very cool way of progressing through this mission. I think, like, that's a genuinely interesting kind of feature to put into a mission design that goes beyond just the usual kill everything.
Yeah, I'd say this, of all the missions we've done so far, I think this is the one that feels like it has the most character to it, you know?
Well, absolutely. I mean, like, they realize it's the last one.
Yeah, it's like this one you could essentially drop in any other kind of mech game, and it would fit in.
Totally. Because it's like, Well, what was it like? I think it was like a sort of phrasing that kind of describes things about like game design and pacing of that nature, where it's like a lot of the effort gets put into the start of the game and the end of the game, because the start
no
is
one remembers
what
the original.
the middle always like ends up blurring to a point, because it's like the start, you want to make sure you land that first impression, and then when you get to the end, you want to make sure that you have, that you're firing on all cylinders to make sure that people are fully engaged if they made it that far, that they do not just drop it right at the very end.
Yeah. It's like one of the games I always default to when talking about that sort of thing is Prototype. The opening mission is absolutely amazing. Fantastic music, amazing visuals. You really feel like you're at the end of the world. And one of the penultimate missions, the final mission kind of sucks, but one of the penultimate ones, you're fighting this gigantic kaiju-sized fleshy abomination in the middle of Times Square. Fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really remember what happens in the middle of it, but those two bits, wonderful.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of like, there was a tank?
I think another big example to me I can think of is RE5, just because I do think, even if the opening is kind of trading on a lot of the same things that RE4 did with its opening, like the big proper introduction to combat with the Majini is pretty strong.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the whole finale with Wesker, which that kind of goes without saying, like global saturation, boulder punching, all the works.
I mean, that was the point that Resident Evil was like, okay, let's be as unapologetically anime as possible.
Yeah.
Like, here's this big guy injected with 100 different types of parasites, marching ominously on your partner, and you're standing there punching the holy hell out of a boulder. And I'm sorry, that makes perfect sense to me if it was an anime.
And it honestly has like the best line from Roger Craig Smith's run of Chris Redfield in that game, because otherwise he is like, I get that it's part of Chris's appeal that he is just like the regular kind of the
average guy,
average white person.
Yeah.
But like, and because of that, like his usual quips, especially in cutscenes, are just so uninspired. But that final battle in game, he has the best line where after he hears Wesker's entire plan, the whole motive for using Ouroboros, he's like, seriously, do you get all of your ideas from comic book villains?
Yeah. And Wesker's
like,
just
you're gonna
actually die now.
He for once has the brains to call him out on, call the villain out on being such a dumb motherfucker.
Yeah, he's like Doctor Doom, but without the armor.
Yeah, or the actual accomplishments of Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Who took over the world multiple times, then gave it back up because he realized actual world domination was boring.
Yeah. No, but like I said, like...
And it's funny, too, because, like, you go from Wesker to Doom, and I'm just reminded again of how, from Maximilian Dude, like that channel, before he got big as, like, one of the biggest Twitch streamers, he was known for, like, doing, like, this series of, like, tutorial videos for Marvel 3 called Assist Me, that also doubled as, like, improv skit, not really improv, they were scripted, but, like, skits of, like, his friends kind of as representing different characters, and one of the biggest running things was, like, the feud between Wesker and Doctor Doom.
Oh, yeah. They would absolutely despise each other.
Yeah, totally. Especially because of how, like, Doctor Doom just kind of had, like, was, very powerful in Marvel 2, and by the time 3 came around and introduced Wesker, he was just one of the absolute biggest beasts in that game.
Yeah.
And even just remembering the, probably, I think, the only time that I cared enough to listen to, like, an epic rap battle of history style video, and it was them doing a parody of that, but Wesker versus Doom. It's actually legit amazing. So amazing that Max, I recall, mentioned that he basically got like a cease and desist from them because even though it was technically legal for him to do so as a parody, like, they did not respect it as such because they thought people would legit think that that was an official rap and not a fake one. Even though, dude, They literally call it Epic Rap Battles of MDC3. There is no mention of the word history in that fucking title. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, but remember, people are dumb.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. People are morons. They will... Someone anywhere will wind up going, oh, wait, that looks like a real thing, and then telling everyone about it.
Yeah. But then again, this is also in the age where, like, real petty, like, corporate entities or small companies will, like, resort to copyright strikes on YouTube channels that even so much as try and criticize them.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, that's before you get to stuff like what Team 4-Star had to go through repeatedly.
Yeah, with just for using any amount of DBZ animation and just the bullshit with Toei.
Yeah.
That said, though, Doom totally did win that rap on the basis that Wesker uses Phoenix and has a shitty haircut.
Well, Phoenix is cheap as hell, so they never really... Like, it's been a long time since I've played it, and I've not played the remastered edition, but they never really wanted to nerf her.
No, it's like you just show that looping gif of a Phoenix mirror match in which they are just like on the ground like kicking each other but like not touching, and it's like everyone knows exactly what that is.
This is like Marvel. Imagine this for 60 minutes and that's your average tournament.
Yeah.
I remember one of my friends saying, one of my friends at the time, I should say, saying that I was terrible at the game because I didn't pick any of the top tier characters, and I was like, okay, but I'm here to have fun.
It's just like pulling like a Sanford Kelly, I forget who it was, because there was like an old FGC video where it was a dude that basically was just going on, talking with some dudes while just kind of like walking down the street, just like going, just pick a top tier, just pick a top tier, just do it, just stop complaining. If you just want to be the bestest motherfucker there ever was, pick a top tier.
Okay, so I'm picking X23.
No! Marvel 3, the biggest game for the biggest degenerates.
She's a B tier character at best. Yeah, well, I'm gonna have fun. But you're getting beaten repeatedly. Yes, but I'm upsetting you. That's how I get my fun.
Yep. Who's ready for the final boss?
Oh, me. Whoa. Did they get H.R. Giger to design that door?
I don't know, but we need to get behind cover ASAP.
I copy Argus.
That is not a VT, and you were mentioning Armored Core as far as like kind of this mission feeling the most like it. The boss, for me, is what solidifies it, because this feels right at home with like the kind of end boss you'd find in multiple Armored Core games where you're not fighting another VT. You are fighting some other manner of mechanical monstrosity that manages to outstrip even your combat capabilities at times.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a combat helicopter, right?
No, it's a thing. I feel it's really hard to describe.
Because it said defeat the president's veto.
But no, that's not his VTOL. The president is not in that thing. That's just like the weirdest, biggest automated like mecha of some kind. He's already making his way to the heliport.
Right, okay, so... Okay.
Yeah. And this is basically the safest strategy I have to use, because at the time I was recording this, I was not confident enough to do the really ballsy move, which is go into the arena and just run circles around him. Because his big weakness actually is that the D3I, that's what it's called, it has a very slow turn radius. But obviously the problem with trying to go that route is that you have to be really good at managing, like, knowing what your forward movement direction is, independent of your looking direction. And then there's also the matter that the backside of the machine itself doesn't count as like a hitbox, or like something that you're supposed to hit to deal damage. It's like the main head that at the top that you have to aim for. And it can be very easy for your shots to just hit the backside and not that, and you'll waste a lot of ammo.
Yeah.
So it's why I'm kind of sticking to this strategy of just basically treating it like it's a Boston time crisis.
Yeah, just popping out, picking off some armaments, and then ducking back in.
Yep. All the while listening to, I think, what is absolutely my favorite song from any of the Macross Frontier series, which is, this is from the second movie, Wings of Tsubasa. Or, yeah. No, wait, Wings of Good Goodbye, I meant shit. I meant, because that's literally just...
You moron. Can't
God
even
damn it.
tell the difference between two Wii songs.
Yeah, because it's like... Yeah, because the English title's Wings of Goodbye, Japanese is Sayonara no Tsubasa. Yeah, you can see what I meant when I was going for, like, songs that felt appropriate to play during a finale. Hence why this and the one before it, like, that one was the one that played at the end of the TV anime for Frontier.
Gotta say, though, it's a bit anticlimactic with this strategy.
It kind of is. But at the same time, this mission takes a fucking half an hour.
It's like just turning it into something from a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
Yeah.
Is he gone yet? Is he gone yet? And bang, 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 bang. Oop, back in the hole.
Yeah, because like because the reason I don't consistently just like jump back and forth like in a rhythmic fashion is because it does fire a volley of rockets that you generally want to first collide with the wall in front of you before you pop out, which is why you occasionally see like right here, that extended series of explosion gifs.
Yeah. I remember back in the day seeing that in way too many forum signatures.
Oh, God.
Usually with some badass saying behind them.
Mm-hmm. That is also not at all applicable to what they are actually posting about it on what site.
No. So is this really just like some, like, what is the rationale for this being here?
I imagine probably something that would eventually have been used, like, or instead, like, as a very last desperation meter to just, like, forcibly take back his own nation.
Yeah. Because, like, you're literally just taking pot shots at an immobile thing in a hangar. So, you know, is this meant to be used, or did you just catch him short?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is a situation where because we are the ones going on the offensive at this fort, it probably was not enough time to have this thing, like, fully deployed yet and, like, put onto the outside field. Because, again, like, it can turn. If we were to go the strategy of just running circles around it, if I was actually good enough to do that, you'd be able to see that. Along with, you know, just the risk of getting hit by even more of its attacks.
Yeah.
Because these rockets are pretty tough to dodge, especially when he's just firing dozens upon dozens of them at once.
Yeah, so it's nice how he's not burdened with ammo limits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also another reason for why I take 2 railguns into this mission. I think the way you'll see it is that when I have used up my first railgun set of ammo. I am on my last, and I have 2 shots left.
Oh, boy.
2 of these, I have to aim without using lock-on, because the last lockable part of its body is now destroyed. I gotta aim for the smaller boxes on the front of it.
Well, he's not going anywhere, so you could always just be like, okay, back in a sec, nip out, refuel. Okay, back for the boss fight.
Yeah, but it's already long enough as is.
Thank you for being so patient and understanding while I punch your head out.
Yep, and there it is.
Yay! And then it turns out that was just his lawnmower.
Nah. And this is the point where it's like, I feel like if you were going to this mission blind for the first time and you were like, and depending on, like, if you did not realize what was coming after this, there's a non-zero chance that you could potentially have, like, screwed yourself really hard and fail the mission because of the last thing we
you have to
need
shoot down the
shoot.
helicopter, don't you?
Yep, that's why I have the 67mm chain gun.
Dex! That is evil!
It is! Yeah, it's like
I'm
and the funny
impressed.
thing is like when I did a practice run of this on the main campaign, like my first time actually completing it, I did not have the chain gun. I actually had to rely on my 430mm smoothbore, and it's like I basically kept missing it on the point that it was ascending. I was only able to actually land the shot once it had reached its altitude and stayed in place for like a good 2 seconds. That was like my only chance to get it. If I had missed after that, I would have hated myself. Hence why I went with the weapons I did on this recording, since we're in free mission.
That is a horrible beginner's trap, and I love it.
Yeah, it's like, channeling the spirit of From Software, you malevolent bastards.
Just, okay, here's a big thing for you to skeet all your ammunition at. Oh wait, there's one more thing. Lol.
Yeah.
Wow, I am legitimately impressed with that.
Mm-hmm. Time for the final volley of shots. Yeah.
Good timing with the music as well.
Mm-hmm. And just in time for Christmas.
Yay!
Still not a Christmas game. Like, the full series of events need to take place exclusively within the time frame that it is appropriate for it to be Christmas.
You've not had this discussion before.
Yep. It's important, goddammit. People need to remember this.
It was declared a Christmas game by the Nicene Council back in 422 AD.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that 2-year period of dealing with the Haishida's bullshit is finally at a close. And we get the actual, much cooler credits. Like, it's a very stark contrast to, like, the kind of the stock war photos slideshow that you had at the end of the first campaign.
Yeah.
This is way more triumphant. Like, good job. You've ended this conflict for good.
Also
Here are the memories of your triumphs and your struggles through these campaigns.
It also makes the game look a hell of a lot more dynamic than it actually is to play.
Yeah.
Like, there's lots of speed and action and buildings falling over rather than slow-paced stomping.
And all of this, I'm assuming, is still very much being done with, like, the same replay viewer that the game ships with. Like, all these camera angles.
Likely, yeah.
It's like, it is very clear that they basically went in HUD off and, like, switched camera angles to the same ones they have in the replay viewer, and that's how they were able to record these shots. And, like, it works. It manages to make it look really good. And admittedly, like, when you keep playing this game repeatedly, especially as you go through the higher difficulties, you know, you do start... You like, your proficiency with VT piloting does get it to a point where it does start looking a lot more like what you see here.
Yeah.
Though I don't recall there being a situation where I ever had to, like, shoot at the broadcasting tower. I just had to run to there for that one mission. But God.
If there'd been a dragon on top of it, different story.
Yeah,
yes,
that'd be a... Yep, I was about to say, I was like, that's a very, very bad omen if you see that. Like, take a closer round. Are there layers and layers of salt littering the street? If so, just end yourself right there.
No, but I do hear this weird sound. It's probably nothing.
But God, what a good game. Yeah. Just, God, this is such a good game. Like, even though we have clearly demonstrated of, like, us being way more off topic with the second campaign due to the very flagrant reuse of assets and even mission objectives. It's just, it is still an amazing one-of-a-kind experience.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, this is a game that could only have come out at the time it did, because no way in hell would any company fund a game that requires its own gigantic controller, custom controller.
Especially with the general, like, HD costs for, like, game development these days, and that just how exponentially more, like, expensive that is compared to what you had in the early 2000s.
Exactly. Like, this is a game that it's not just of its time, it could never have been released at any other time.
Yeah, the closest you could ever get is just someone doing something like this for PC, but even then it wouldn't be with an original controller, it would just be allowing for the be-all end-all of control mapping customizations, like flight sim levels.
Yeah, it would be like, okay, this is only really playable with a HOTAS, but, we'll still give you the options.
Absolutely.
No way you could play something like this with like a DDR controller. Although I imagine someone's tried.
Well, probably you tried it in conjunction with the controller itself.
No, tried that with a Guitar Hero's controller. Because those guys will do anything to get those two working. With every game ever.
Yeah. The funny thing I've discovered regarding like this game and the controller, and it's mostly in regards to how people have tried to like keep the functionality of the controller going, because this thing is already close to 20 years old now. Is with the pedal specifically. There's actually ways to take like actual like racing wheel pedals and just kind of like rework the wire connectors to make it so that you can plug it back into the controller and it still has the same functions. Because it's 3 pedals.
Yeah.
Most racing wheel setups also abide by that same thing. It's usually contextualized as accelerate, brake, and e-brake.
Yeah.
But that's the end results. This is very much like a good mission that, like, if you're playing the campaign, you're always guaranteed to get a decoration at the end of it and a whole bunch of combat points to keep going up in rank. But yeah, that's a good game. So, it's still not the end of the LP, though. There's one last thing right after this that'll still be a bit of a ways off for an indeterminate amount of time, and that's the post-game. Because, as mentioned, this game has extra difficulties. There are bonuses that are gained from beating it on those difficulties. And, there's all kinds of extra neat little things, like, separate from that I feel are worth showing just to kind of give this game the absolute proper send-off in terms of the LP. Because if this was just the missions themselves, like raw gameplay, then yeah, this would absolutely be the end. But I am dedicated to making sure that everything about this game is fully known by the end of it.